who's ever played Kerbal Space Program has been dumbfounded at first. What am I to do here? Why is everything exploding? Why is my rocket not rocketing? What life decisions led me here to this moment? Is Jebediah an actual psychopath? And even when building a plane, it's a whole new world of confusion, with the constant thought of, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I am loving this. This has been the universal experience for the first hours or days for anyone who ever played this game. I mean, unless you're an actual rocket scientist, you might have a different experience. The difficult nature of this game did not even one bit take away from the amount of fun that can be had. Building things, physics, explosions, and space is a match made in heaven. As a kid in school, playing this game was a transformative experience for me. It changed the way I viewed space and physics. Before Kerbal Space Program, I was a simple man. My understanding of gravity was superficial. I mean, I knew it kept us grounded, but I always assumed that in space, things simply floated around with no gravity. This game shattered that misconception, revealing the omnipresent nature of gravity. There is no point in space that has zero gravity. We will come back to this concept later in the video. But this level of genius didn't come easy. It took me weeks of failure and explosions until I finally turned to YouTube, looking for tutorials from others who had actually achieved great things in this game.
That's one small step for man.
To tell you about Kerbal Space Program, let's try to remember my first couple of weeks in the game. It was a mix of excitement and a feeling of being overwhelmed. So here I was, a young teen, presented with a space simulator with endless possibilities. I knew I had to make a ship and go to space. With some common sense, I knew I needed a cockpit for my pilot, some fuel, and an engine. This game didn't hold back. It was complex, challenging, and it did not babysit you with easy tutorials. I remember selecting parts for my first rocket, not really understanding the dynamics of thrust, weight, or aerodynamics. My initial design was, to put it mildly, a disaster waiting to happen. It was a haphazard stack of fuel tanks and engines, with a tiny cockpit sticking on top. The launch was, let me just show you. So calling it a failure was an understatement. But here's the thing about Kerbal Space Program. Failure isn't just expected. It's a part of the game, and you have to really get used to it. Each explosion, each failed launch was a lesson in physics, engineering, and patience. And you really need a lot of patience. I learned about the importance of a stable design, how to balance thrust and weight, and the crucial role of aerodynamics. The game was teaching me the basics of rocket science, not through lectures or textbooks, but through trial and error in a virtual world, and I cannot overstate how fun of a learning experience that was. The satisfaction of a rocket design working after hours of modification is undefeated. Those first few weeks in Kerbal Space Program were just the beginning of an unexpected educational and very fun journey. The game managed to turn complex rocket science concepts into an engaging hands-on experience. It's a testament to the power of interactive learning and how a video game can inspire a deeper interest in science and technology. It's fascinating to draw parallels between the game and real-world rocket science. This comparison not only highlights the educational value of this game, but also showcases how it simplifies yet accurately represents complex scientific concepts. One of the most impressive aspects of Kerbal Space Program is its realistic portrayal of orbital mechanics. The game accurately simulates Newtonian physics, teaching players about concepts like how man transfer orbits, delta V, and gravitational assists. These are the same principles used by space agencies to plan missions. Of course, the game simplifies some aspects for playability, but the core concept remains true to life. In Kerbal Space Program, just like in the real world, gravity is the force that attracts two bodies towards each other. Each body in the game, like Kerbin, which is the equivalent of Earth in the game, the Moon, and others, has its own gravitational field. The strength of this field depends on the mass of the body. Larger planets planets with more mass exert a stronger gravitational pull. At first, you'll see gravity as your enemy, always holding you down. But the eureka moment happens when you learn to harness gravity. That's when you'll start making some serious progress in the game. As I progressed, so did the complexity of my missions. I went from just trying to get off the ground to planning orbital trajectories, managing fuel efficiency, and landing on other celestial bodies. The feeling of achievement after successfully docking 2 spacecrafts, for example, or landing on the moon or any other planet was immense. The first real milestone in the game is achieving orbit, and achieving orbit isn't just about going very high up, it's more about going sideways really fast without hitting the ground. You quickly learn that gravity isn't just for pulling you back to Earth, it's also your ticket to circling around it indefinitely in an orbit. Let's run a quick experiment with a classic analogy. Throwing a stone. Picture this: when I throw a stone straight up, it comes right back down. Now, if I throw it at an angle, it travels further before falling. Imagine if we throw it even faster sideways. The idea is to get the stone moving so fast horizontally that as it falls towards the ground, the curvature of the Earth falls away beneath it. That's essentially what orbiting is, falling towards the planet but with enough sideways momentum to keep missing it. But there's a catch. We also need to get high enough so that the atmosphere doesn't slow our stone down, causing it to fall back to Earth. The thinner air at higher altitudes offers less resistance, allowing our stone, or in the game, our spacecraft, to maintain speed and stay in orbit. So, going into orbit is a delicate dance of height and speed, perfectly balanced to defy gravity just enough but not entirely. Knowing this information, we can finally let go of the misconception of zero gravity. Kerbal Space Program shows us that gravity is like that one friend who follows you everywhere, even in the emptiness of space. It's there, subtly influencing your path, reminding you that you're never really alone in the universe. In Kerbal Space Program, our home planet is Kerbin, mirroring Earth in real life. Orbiting around it are 2 moons, each presenting unique challenges and adventures: the Moon and Minmus. The Moon, akin to our Moon, is the first giant leap for the Kerbal kind. Getting to the Moon is no easy task, but a true test of your rocket design and piloting skills. To reach it, you need to master the art of orbital insertions and understand the timing for a lunar transfer. It's all about launching into a stable orbit around Kerbin, then planning your orbit and burning at the right moment to extend your trajectory to intercept the moon's orbit and get caught by its gravity. Minmus, the smaller and more distant of the 2 moons, possess a different kind of challenge. Its slower gravity makes landing easier, but getting there requires more precise maneuvering. Reaching Minmus involves adjusting your orbital inclination. This means that you have to change the angle of your orbit to match that of Minmus, which orbits Kerbin at a tilt. It's a bit more complex than a straightforward shot to the moon, but it's a fantastic way to learn about orbital mechanics. Once you have successfully reached any of the 2 moons, the next big challenge is landing. Landing a spacecraft in Kerbal Space Program is a beast of its own. It's where your hopes and dreams shatter on the cold hard surface of a celestial body. Before you start your landing attempts, it's wise to become best friends with the quick save and reload feature. Trust me, you will need it a lot. Theoretically, landing is straightforward. Counteract your momentum by thrusting in the opposite direction and approach the ground parallel at a safe speed to avoid an explosion. Easy enough. In practice, however, expect a fair share of trial and error. Returning from these moons is another skill to master. It involves taking off, re-establishing an orbit around the moon, and then plotting a course back to Kerbin. One of my favorite parts, burning through the atmosphere and landing. The final milestone is reaching different planets, and the steps are very similar. So let's speedrun this. Planetary transfer window, which is the timing of when to do the mission. There are many graphs and data for this step on all planets. Build a capable spacecraft. Achieve orbit around Kerbin. Execute transfer burn, coasting and mid-course corrections. Orbit insertion at the target planet. Attempt landing. Crash land. Reload save. Actually land. Plant that flag. Redo all these steps the other way around to go back home safely. Some would say that even this is barely scratching the surface. The real end game of Kerbal Space Program, according to many, is colonizing all of the solar system with space stations and refueling docks orbiting all the planets and moons, which is a monumental task. But I've seen some of this stuff and it's really amazing. This is one of my favorite games, and the game that forever changed the way I see physics and space. Hearing the creator of the game talking about how they made it made me appreciate it much more. I recommend you guys go watch this video about the guy who created this game, talking about it and explaining his thought process. And maybe while you're at it, go check out his new game, Kit Hack. This is not a sponsor, by the way. I also want to mention real quick Kerbal Space Program 2, which has really impressive graphics and effects, but a worrying future at the moment, with the studio allegedly shutting down and all. It looks great, and I played it a bit, but the only upgrades as of the moment from Kerbal Space Program 1 is the graphics and the UI, while KSP1 still is better in every other way, almost. Okay, anyway, I really enjoyed working on this video, even though it took me forever to make. I am just starting out on YouTube. Your feedback is much appreciated. This was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. And as the great Scott Manley says, fly safe.